and welcome back to another special edition of the Vulcan Nation podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Barnhart, Director of Alumni Relations. We're rolling on with Season 3. And with us today, we have a special guest, Cody Santiago, class of 2014. He is the Emergency Manager for the Baltimore, Maryland City Schools. Cody, welcome to the Vulcan Nation, and thanks for joining us today.
No, thanks for having me, Ryan. I really appreciate it. I'm glad we could finally get this worked out, with, Justin trying to get me on and, me being so busy with work. I really appreciate you being flexible. So.
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely. And especially given the circumstances that we're all going through, we really appreciate you to be able to carve out some time today, especially with school coming back, starting back here recently and everything. So we do appreciate that. So here on the podcast, we like to get right down to business, hop into the fun, right? And allow you to introduce yourself to our listeners, folks that maybe were at Cal U around the same time that really didn't know you, folks that maybe did and are tuning in, and folks that were there at other times, throughout history, basically, that are always interested in to hear about our alumni. So if you could give us a little bit of background, your kind of like how you got to Cal U, what you did there, and then where it's led to you today.
Yeah, so I started at Cal in August of 2010. I was interested at that point. I really didn't know exactly what I wanted to do, but I knew I wanted to serve in government somehow. I've always been in public safety since I was a young kid. My family's been in the fire service for generations. So, I was a junior firefighter, and then, I became a senior firefighter once I was old enough in the state of Pennsylvania. And, I wanted to carry that on, but something that really triggered me was, after September 11th happened, there was a lot of training that came out based on larger scale incidents, how local teams can respond to those types of incidents, and how you process through that, and what the system should look like. And a lot of people thought it was boring. A lot of people didn't take interest in it. They just want to go and put the fire out. They want to help people. And I wanted to do that too, but I liked the management aspect of it. Like there's a huge component to like we're talking right now with two hurricanes that are getting ready to bash the coastlines of the Gulf Coast. And, that's not just a single response kind of thing. It's going to take resources from all over the country, people, equipment, food, all types of things, for those people to be able to respond and recover from that. So I was really interested in that, and not a lot of other people were. They wanted to just go and help people directly, see that immediate impact. And so I wanted to try and find that in my next step when I went to college. So I went there thinking I was going to go for geographic information systems or geographic information science with Dr. Mueller and his team.
Sure.
And I got there, and I actually met with, he's not at Cal anymore. Bill Edmonds was at Cal at that time. And I met with him, and he said, well, what do you want to do? And I was like, I don't know. And I was kind of looking, my mom and I were looking on this wall, and they had all the programs with, brochures and stuff. And my mom's like, what do you think about this? And she handed me something that said Homeland Security. And I was like, that's it. That's exactly it. So we went and talked with Bill Edmonds, and we talked about, financial aid and, how it's going to work out and things like that. And he really set me up well. He gave me an opportunity for financially and things like that. So I ended up at Cal, and I created lifelong friends. Fred Smith, Tyler Mensler, Justin James, Chuck Murphy, we call him Murph, and a lot of other guys that you mentioned on the podcast already. Like Kane, I knew Kane, we weren't super close, but, we knew each other.
In the same circles, kind of.
Yeah, right? Yeah. I knew Spoon, again, we weren't extremely close, but like all the names that you've mentioned before, you're like, wow, I knew all those people. So you create lifelong friends, and sometimes it's funny how life works out. You think you have a plan, and then you kind of derail from that plan, and you meet friends of a lifetime. So.
No, but it's cool because, like, everyone wants, and I also come from multiple generations in the fire service, right?
Right.
And everyone wants it to be backdraft, right? Everyone thinks of it that way. But like
Yeah.
you said, the management part of it, the logistics, the all of the things that go into not just like running into a burning building, but the all the logistics around, and like the good point about the hurricanes and stuff. And I think that's cool to see that all kind of come together. And it's funny that you mentioned like Fred. I know he's with the Red Cross and doing a
Yep.
lot of the ancillary work that way. So it's cool to see you guys all kind of in the same field and
Yeah.
diversify that way. So
Yeah.
um, as we talk a little more about your story and unlocking your story. So specifically, maybe what things at Cal U, what experiences, the skills maybe or pathways that Cal helped you unlock to kind of get you where you are now.
Yeah. So I mentioned earlier about really trying to find out what existed in the path that I wanted to go down, which was emergency. I didn't know it at the time, but it was emergency management and homeland security. Um, so when I got there, and I knew that there was a homeland security program there. I really didn't know what I was getting myself into. I just knew that I was interested in that course material and that path. And I started out actually with GIS courses and geography courses with Dr. Mueller. He was a huge mentor for the first few years. And then once I got into my core classes, Dr. Hummel, who I just talked to him last week. I still talk to him all the time. He has been one of my continued contacts even after I graduated, 6 years later or 8 years later, since I took his class, maybe 9 years since I took his class now. Still talk to him. He lets me come and speak at his events that he has. So he has really been a huge role model for me as a professor and professionally. So he, the skills that I learned in his class and how to do risk assessments, and he focuses a lot on leadership. Let's analyze who people think are good leaders, and let's talk about what they did well, what they didn't do well. If they were around today, what should we know about them? How would they benefit society in today's world? He really digs deep into the leadership aspect. And same thing with, historical terrorist attacks. We talked about homeland security and terrorist attacks, the group projects all along those courses, where every week, essentially, there's a group that presents some type of terrorist attack. You're learning about the different aspects of how people work. He always said, you can't deter these acts unless you think like a terrorist. And that might make people feel uncomfortable, but it's so true. In the world that I live in now and in my profession, if you can't think the way other people would think, or at least along the same lines to try and counteract that, you're going to have a tough time stopping those things, even if it's something you can't really avoid.
Sure, and I gotta imagine too that like your experiences with, and not saying that like friend groups are bad, but I think just the diversity of people that you probably were around at your time at Cal U. I know for me that helps me to be able to think in other people's shoes as well. So I gotta imagine that comes in handy
Yeah,
too.
absolutely. Yeah, in these classes, there were people that were currently in the military. There were veterans that were done with their service in the military. There were people like me who were just trying to get out of college and go start my profession. There were adults, that had worked 20 years in policing and they wanted to go get their degree. So, the difference in people and their experiences was vast. It was not like a common college atmosphere at all. Like, it was a lot of people coming from different areas and experiences and perspectives, for sure.
No, absolutely. And so talking a little bit more along those lines, in terms of these pathways and this story that's kind of unfolded for you personally, professionally, from your time at Cal U. How about your supporting cast? We know a lot goes into success, right? And a lot of times it's built upon, they say it takes a village to raise a child. And I think that a lot of times professionally, it takes a village of your network, your peers, your mentors, professors, whatever. So are there any specific maybe classes or professors,
Yeah.
staff members at Cal, or even your friends? I know we talked a little bit about that kind of helped you along your way to get to where you are now.
Yeah, so I already mentioned a few of them. Dr. Mueller was huge. I still talk to him. Um, Dr. Hummel, still talk to him. Chris Crawford, who's not there anymore, she was huge and instrumental in helping me set up my course schedule every year because I was never great at that. She's not. I think she retired now, but you know, her whole group. I actually worked with them in the tutoring office. Um, you know, so that whole group over there was amazing. They were incredible, very nice people. Um, let's see who else. Bobby Sapezi from the strength conditioning team, and
Yeah.
Phil, all those guys. I would work out, almost every morning with those folks, in there. And one thing that really resonated with me, Bobby said to me, I was really frustrated. I was getting ready to graduate, within a month or two, and I was like, man, I can't find a job. I'm working so hard. I have good grades. I've done all these projects, and I was just complaining basically, like I can't find a job. I can't get experience if I don't get hired. Blah blah blah. Everybody goes through that phase. And he said, it's the V word. I'm like, the V word? What are you talking about? The V word? He's like, volunteer. And between that advice and something that Dr. Hummel always said, which was, be a yes man, always say yes. Even if you think you're not capable of doing something, when someone asks who can do this, you say yes, and you figure out a way to go get it done. So those two pieces of advice really have helped me, because there have been plenty of times where I didn't feel like, I could volunteer to do a job and do it well. And you surprise yourself. So just, and the other part about that is when you graduate, either whether you're coming out of trade school, no matter where you're coming from, trade school, undergrad, master's, whatever, and you're having a hard time finding a job, you have to be willing to do the things that other people aren't willing to do. Whether it's, I remember working 18 hours in DC in the middle of summer, at volunteering at concerts for PBS, making contacts there, in a suit for 18 hours, almost 18 hours a day, in the summer sun in DC. It's hot. And, there's a lot of people that wouldn't go do that for free. And I didn't enjoy, working for free either. But eventually I started to get paid for that. And then other jobs would come from that.
Sure.
Other opportunities, people know people. So just never be afraid to step out of your comfort zone and say, yeah, I'll do that. No problem. Because I feel like if you want to get somewhere in life, you have to suck it up for a little bit, and you have to do the things that other people aren't willing to do.
No, I agree totally, and that is solid advice, I think, for emerging students, young alumni. I mean, that is really important. Sometimes you gotta like pay your dues a little bit, and I know that's like maybe a little cliche to think in this day and age when you could just like vlog on YouTube and get 1 million subscribers and whatever.
Yeah.
But it really is the truth, especially in the real world. So
Yeah, and the other thing about volunteering for a job, I'm not even saying to do something for free, but to do something that you don't like to do, or that you were asked to do, and for little or no money. The other thing that you find through that is you find what your passion is, because I know for me in my field, I would do a lot of things for little or no pay because I enjoy doing them. I enjoy the aspect of that job. And I found that through doing things that I didn't want to do, or I thought I wanted to do, and I really ended up not liking them. So you just got to step out there and try to find what you like.
Absolutely, and I think that sums up, kind of, uh, uh, I think something that's shared among a lot of alumni.
Yeah.
Whether it's from like your time or before, or even after recent graduates, is that you embrace these things. You're passionate about things, and you're going to do whatever you can to kind of build your credentials or whatever in that area that you're passionate in. So I think it's really cool to see that, and to see it pay off also, I think is very impressive. So
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's definitely a rewarding feeling, especially when you're hitting roadblock after roadblock after roadblock, and all of the no's make that one yes pretty sweet.
all worthwhile. Absolutely, I couldn't say it better myself. So thank you again for sharing your story there. Now we like to have a little fun on this podcast too. It's not all business and that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
this is the running gag on the show. Understanding that it is still a PG-13 podcast.
Yeah.
And putting you on the spot here, I realize that there are probably many memories that you recall fondly, and maybe some that you don't recall, but were still good memories, right? I know I have a few of those. But do you have a favorite non-class related memory of your time at Cal U?
I don't think I have a specific one because there's just too many. I had a great time at Cal, on and off campus. Friends and hanging out, off campus, going and doing stuff. The one thing I like about Cal is you're so close to other things. You're 40 minutes from Pittsburgh, you're 40 minutes from West Virginia University. You're close to a lot of things. So you can go do a lot of stuff. You can go see your friends. You're not that far from IUP if you have friends there.
Right.
Slippery Rock, you're not that far from there. So like when we leave high school and everybody goes different places, you're not that far away from them. But you're far enough away from home to get away from that. But my favorite memories would be anything rugby related. I played on the rugby team, club rugby. I would just say like going and doing stuff around the area, whether it was going to a Pirates game or I don't know, we went kayaking. It was kayaking. I think it was kayaking on the Yak.
Okay.
I forget what it's Ohio Pile. That's what it is.
Yeah. That's
yeah. So we did that. I mean, just going and doing stuff, and getting out and getting off campus and blowing off some steam. That was the best times, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's something underrated about, the location, because a lot of us at least in my time, and I know students still feel that way, like it's in the middle of nowhere, but really that's a benefit because like you said, it's close to Pittsburgh if you want the city aspect and culture like that. It's close to Ohio Powell if you want nature and, activity like that. It's close to Morgantown if you want to go and see like a 30,000 person campus and get that experience. You know what I mean? So like, yeah, it definitely, I think, is the right place for a lot of people. And I can't disagree with you more, at all there.
I'll tell you, like I'm from, sorry to interrupt you.
No, you're cool.
I'm from about 3.5 hours east of Cal.
Sure.
I'm between, Harrisburg and Philly. And I think that's one of the reasons why I liked getting off campus so much is because I wasn't from the area, and I wanted to find the hole in the wall restaurants, the hole in the wall bars, the places to go in Pittsburgh, because, where I'm from is nothing like the area that Cal is. It's very different. It's not bad. It's just the language is different. People talk differently there. The landscape's differently, it's just different. It's just completely different. And I liked it. And I wanted to go out and explore and find those things that, were off campus that people were talking about, where people were from, So to me, it was neat because I wasn't familiar with it. Whereas, other people who go to Cal, they're from that area and, they're not as enthused with something they're already familiar with,
Cool.
So.
Yeah, so it's like a very probably a whole new discovery for you getting there.
Yeah, it was. Just learning Pittsburghese and how people pronounce things was so different for me. And like people would make fun of the way I talk, like because we have Pennsylvania Dutch out here, and it rubs off on people that are from the area, and people would be like, "What?" So, and I would do the same thing to them. So it was it was pretty neat. I was always amazed with the area.
Yeah, trying to translate Yinzer into Pennsylvania Dutch and vice versa. It could be, I can imagine it would be.
Yeah.
Right? All right, so we're building the ultimate Cal U playlist to be released later this fall. Yep. So what one song reminds you most of your time at Cal U?
So Fred Smith and I were roommates, and one song that he played all of the time was Crave You by Flight Facilities. So I still listen to it to this day. It's a banger. It's really good. So that's my recommendation.
All right, bet. We will definitely add that to the list. That's
have to. It's good. And that it reminds me of Cal so much.
Awesome. And that's really what we want, that nostalgic effect. So I imagine anytime it comes on, right, you're transported right back to you living with Fred.
I can see Fred just doing his dances, at the table.
We might have to get him back on and recreate that for us. So
yeah, for sure.
That might have to be something else. All right, the great food debate. What's the best meal you had at Cal U? Now, granted, that could be on campus or off campus. You mentioned some hole in the walls that you found, some dive bars. So do you have a favorite place that you found to eat at Cal U?
Okay, so So I'll start with, I'm going to do both. I'm going to do on campus
That's
and then
fine.
so on campus, I frequently went for lunch at Sycamore Bistro. Is it still there?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Bistro's still going strong.
Yeah, I loved Sycamore Bistro. They had the best sandwiches. They always had good soup. You get a salad if you weren't feeling it. It was good and it was quick. You get your stuff, eat outside, and then you can run to class, whatever you got to do, or you can take it home, whatever. Off campus. So this since we're PG-13. This next place was really important on Saturday and Sunday mornings. Chuck Wagon.
Absolutely.
Chuck
Hands
Wagon.
down.
Hands down. It's really an essential function for Saturday and Sunday mornings, and we'll leave it at that.
Absolutely, absolutely. It is one of those great kickstarters after you may have had a little bit of an overhung evening, if you catch my drift, right?
Yeah. If you had a little too much fun the night before, it was always great. You go there, and it was cheap. You didn't have to pay too much. And we actually, funny thing about the Chuck Wagon. So I actually made really good friends with one of the servers there. Her name was Bonnie.
Yeah,
I became, yeah, Bonnie Granda. And we became really good friends over the years that I was there. And then I believe it was the last year that I was at Cal, she actually passed away from cancer.
Yeah, unfortunately.
So it was crazy, like, to meet her son and to know her story and just build a relationship with someone that you didn't expect to build a relationship with, so I would highly recommend Chuck Wagon. Sorry to go gleam it there for a minute, but I forget all the memories, with people, that you have there and, how you met them. But the second one, and I don't know, I heard rumors that it's not around anymore. So I need to get clarification from you, Ryan. Is Spuds still open?
Oh man, that's a tough one. So unfortunately, no. Spuds just closed their California location for good. Yeah, unfortunately. The owners, their son, I guess their kids are getting a little bit older, so they wanted to spend more time with the family. So fortunately, Spuds is no longer. But the word on the street is that we're getting like a quick service, like Chipotle type place. So
cool.
yeah,
Okay.
So hopefully that arrives, and then we'll be good to go from there.
That'll be good. I thought wasn't there one. There was like a burrito place, like right next to the Chinese place, right?
Yeah, for like a hot minute, they had like a burrito place there, and then they went somewhere else too.
So. That was good. I like that.
It was. When I first got hired at Cal as an employee, it was in 2013, and like the first or second day I was on campus, I just remember going there for lunch to get a burrito, and it rained like as hard as it could like the sky opened up, and I had to walk back from. God, I didn't have an umbrella. I didn't take my car, so I had to walk back from that place to Eberly, and like I got in the building and had to go into the men's room and use the hand blower, like the hand dryer to like dry my clothes off. It was a humbling experience, but yeah, that place was there for a little bit. So
man, I forgot about that place too. So yeah, that place, but it's not there anymore. Spuds isn't there anymore. I'm a big Subway fan, even, now that I'm done with school, but I always went to Subway too.
Yeah, so so in the great Subway versus DQ debate, you're a Subway guy?
Oh yeah. I don't even think I ever went to DQ. Yeah, I'm not a big DQ person.
I got you, man.
Is the coffee place still there? The drive-in, what was that called? I forget what it was called. It was put in like my last year there or something. It was a coffee place like right off campus.
Oh yeah, Mudslingers there.
Mudslingers, that's what it was.
Yeah, they're still open too. So
yeah,
absolutely. All right, well, cool. Well, thanks for sharing your food choices.
We kind of covered them all there. I don't know how.
Yeah, right. We got them all. It's cool to hear though, like folks like we had a guest on the other day, and the big thing was like permani sandwiches because she was like from Georgia, so that was like a thing. But now you can get them shipped to you. They'll mail out a FedEx you permani sandwich. So I thought
we actually have a bunch of permanis out this way now where I live. So it's not as much of a Pittsburgh centric.
Yeah. No, I was in BC right before Corona. We had normal like events and things like that. We were out in like Harrisburg, Hershey.
Yeah.
And there was like a permanis right on the main drag.
Yep.
there in Hershey. So I thought that was kind of interesting too. So
Yep, for sure.
Well, Cody, again, I want to thank you for taking the time out to join us here on the podcast today. We really appreciate you carving some time out for us.
No, thanks so much for having me on. And again, thanks for your flexibility, trying to get this scheduled. And, I was glad I was able to finally come on.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And before we go, we always like to let our listener or our guests give one last time for shout outs or plug their side hustle or let our audience know where, if they want to connect professionally with you, where they could do that.
Yeah. So you can find me on LinkedIn, just under Cody Santiago. Also, so I wrote a book on school safety. So if you are interested, if you're a teacher, I know Cal's a big ed school. So if you're a teacher or you're an administrator that's, looking to go back to school, and you're looking to go to Cal or whatever the case may be, you can find my book on Amazon. It's called Averting a School Crisis. So yeah, LinkedIn and then books on Amazon.
Awesome. Well, again, man, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. So for Cody Santiago, I'm Ryan Barnhart. This is the Vulcan Nation. We'll catch you next time.